From the next day in the cottage, the prince got down to mass-producing cement with the help of the workers who responded to the recruitment notice. They hustled to gather essential ingredients and supplies, giving Anna some well-deserved rest. Meanwhile, the prince kicked off the excavation for the city wall's foundation between the North Slope Mountain and the Redwater River. However, things didn't go as smoothly as expected. The knight was impressed that the prince personally visited the construction site and gave the workers a pep talk at the North Slope. He noted their dedication, but the prince grinned sheepishly, admitting that despite their efforts, all they managed to dig was a rough trench at the North Slope, a makeshift drainage ditch rather than the sturdy foundation needed for a city wall. Even though our hero used to geek out over mechanical blueprints, paired with his civil engineer buddy, they made quite the geeky duo. But now, tackling these civil project details is way beyond his expertise, and he's itching for a pro in the field to brainstorm ideas with. Interrupting his moment of contemplation, the consultant points out that a stonemason has responded to their recruitment notice, claiming to have been a member of the Grey Castle Mason Guild. The prince immediately recognizes the guild as a prominent organization in the country, though he's heard they were disbanded due to a construction accident. He then shrugs it off, pointing out that risks are always present in this line of work. He is eager to secure highly talented individuals, and instructs his consultant to bring the stonemason to see him. The next scene takes us to Roland's administrative office in Border Town. Our hero lounges at his desk, idly passing the time, while Anna sits nearby, absorbed in a book. Finally, the knight arrives with the person our hero has been eager to meet. To our surprise, it's none other than the teacher who had been fretting about his little witches. Before the teacher can start extolling the prince, our hero cuts in, waving off the formalities and telling him to relax. When the teacher's gaze falls upon Anna, he looks completely bewildered, his mind clearly spinning. Meanwhile, both our hero and the knight are totally dumbfounded to see this unexpected meet and greet. Sensing potential trouble, the prince quickly directs the knight to block the door. The knight immediately follows the command, positioning himself at the entrance, ready to not let this threatening man go away. Our hero finds it hard to believe that a random craftsman could end up being a neighbor of Anna. But then, the teacher suddenly falls to his knees, pleading for forgiveness from Anna for not helping her in the times she needed him the most. That is when it becomes clear to the prince that this man poses no threat to her after all. Anna also recognizes her teacher immediately. The prince then instructs the man to stand and demands an explanation about his relationship with Anna. The man immediately pulls himself together and quickly apologizes for causing a scene. He then introduces himself as Carl Van Bate, a former member of the Mason Guild turned teacher in the border town. He reveals that Anna was once his student. Carl further points out that he doesn't really understand why our hero would spare Anna's life. Perhaps he wants her as his lover, but he isn't complaining since being beheaded is still better than being a prince's side chick. Carl is further relieved to see that our hero doesn't believe in witches being incarnations of the devil. After explaining everything thoroughly to the prince, the man further mentions that there's another talented girl like Anna, whom he would like our hero to also keep hidden here in the palace. The prince gladly gives this teacher the green light to bring her here, promising no harm will come to her if she truly is a witch. However, he can't simply take her away from her family, especially since they aren't directly threatening her at the moment. Our guy bursts into happiness inwardly, looking forward to meeting this next witch and discovering her formidable abilities, though outwardly he remains composed and calm. The prince clarifies that he didn't save the girl out of kindness, but because he needs her help. He doesn't believe in those nonsensical tales that portray witch powers as evil. Instead, he sees them as valuable gifts if handled wisely and used responsibly. So whether it's Anna, this other girl Nana, or any other witch, as long as they haven't committed actual crimes, he won't presume them guilty in any way. Once that's out of the way, our hero finally gets down to business and asks the man if he's ever helped build in Grey Castle Town. The man nods enthusiastically, saying he's had plenty of experience. The prince then lays out his plan to erect a wall between the foot of the North Slope Mountain and the Redwater River to keep those demonic critters at bay. From now on, this guy's in charge of the whole project. In the next scene, we're in Roland's Palace Gardens in Border Town, where Nana finally pays our hero a visit. She looks a bit nervous at first glance. When the little girl asks if she's really seeing Prince Roland Wimbledon, the prince grins and confirms it's him in the flesh. Nana lights up and introduces herself as Nana Pine. Without missing a beat, Nana dashes over to Anna and starts playing with her like they've been sisters forever. The prince wondering these girls are really young, and yet they are a talented bunch, so he is really looking forward to see what future have store in for them. The boy then turns to the little girl, reminding her that her teacher mentioned she's awakened as a witch. The girl asks if he's going to execute her, but the boy quickly says no, explaining that only criminals with a rap sheet end up facing the gallows or a beheading. The girl insists she's possessed by a devil, which her teacher also confirmed. Anna gives her a reassuring pat on the head, while our hero asks when she first noticed something was up. She explains it all started a week ago when she saw a bird with a busted leg. Feeling a strong urge to help, something like water blobs popped into her mind and surrounded the bird, and the bird's leg got healed instantly. After hearing her story, the prince tells his knight to go grab a chicken. As the knight heads off to find a healthy one, our hero wonders if her awakened powers might lean towards healing, which is nothing to scoff at. The prince then tells her that if she can save animals like that bird, it means she's actually a good person. The girl agrees, saying their teacher also told them that regular folks fear witches just because they can do things others can't. She insists she's never seen a devil and isn't connected to one either. Our hero believes her right away and gives her a gentle pat on the head, reminding her that the church and even their teacher were tricked by lies. Confused, the girl asks why anyone would lie. The boy explains it's not about good or bad, it's about people trying to make money by spreading fake stories. Once the chicken arrives, the little girl asks the prince to go easy on it. The boy agrees but tells his knight to hold the chicken tight before giving it a quick whack on the head. The poor bird squawks in pain and flops to the ground. He then turns to the girl and urges her to heal the chicken pronto. She nods, saying she'll do her best. When she lays her hand on it, those watery blobs pop up again, and she gets to work right away. A few hours pass, and despite the boy's rough treatment, which leaves the chicken drained, he finally seems to understand Nana's power. She can fix up broken bits and mend fractures, though bringing a chicken back from the dead isn't in her playbook. Once the chicken has served its purpose, the boy tells his knight to take it to the kitchen, leaving the girl with tears in her eyes and a pout for how rough the prince was with the chicken. But he assures her it was necessary. Before long, a feast of delicious food appears before them. Nana seems to forget her chicken grievance as she eagerly eyes the cooked bird laid out before her. After their little feast, the little girl heads off, waving her hand one last time, and our hero waves back in response. Meanwhile, Anna is curious why our hero is not keeping her in the palace, knowing she's a witch too. He reminds her that she still has a family who doesn't know about her powers yet. But Anna worries it's only a matter of time before her parents find out and exile her. He agrees, but reassures her that as long as her abilities remain secret, she should cherish the time with her parents. He then asks if she misses her father. She sadly shakes her head with a no, but our hero can empathize with the loneliness she feels. To ease her mind, he promises that Nana will come daily to practice magic with her so she won't feel alone, and further vows to give both girls the ordinary life they desire. And he means every word. Back in the castle, our hero's been feeling kind of boring ever since Carl Van Bate took charge of the wall construction. He's taken to having a tea party every afternoon while teaching the girls how to work their magic. Every now and then, he checks on the city wall's progress at the foot of the North Slope Mountain, always impressed by how much better it's going than expected. But then, the consultant shows up with some not-so-great news. He points out that hiring all those craftsmen and laborers has been super expensive, and all that cash is coming straight out of our hero's pocket. At this rate, the steward's worried they won't have enough money left by spring. Our hero officially starts to panic, realizing that he is freaking screwed. A moment later, while he's brainstorming ideas to get out of this financial mess, the old man finds it strange how much the prince has changed lately, as if he's become a completely different person. Back in the day, this guy knew nothing but the pleasures of life, and the only reason this old man sticks with our hero is because the king has promised him the position of Minister of Finance once the throne competition is over. When he first rolled into Border Town, he wasn't planning on running the place, nor was he gunning for the throne. He let down all the nobles and dumped all the responsibilities on the old man's lap. But ever since he rescued that witch, the prince has done a complete 180. The prince is now handling things with more thought and dealing with stuff like it's his second nature. He even talks to the old man in this grown-up tone that's seriously creeping the old dude out, making him wonder if the prince got possessed by a devil or something. But the old man brushes it off, saying if the prince were really possessed, he wouldn't have casually snagged that godforsaken retribution locket. Cut to the scene back at the port in Border Town. Two nobles and this redhead guy, who looks like some ambassador, are shooting the breeze. The guy in glasses reminds the ambassador they last swung by a year ago and gripes that the town's still a desolate pile of rocks. The redhead pipes up, correcting him that it was just 6 months back. He mentions how every season Duke randomly sends someone new here. He remembers visiting last summer, when besides rocks, there were all kinds of fancy furs floating around. When he is about to spill something juicy, he decides to keep it under wraps for some reason, and instead, he focuses on Border Town's potential. He suggests that although it's currently just a fortress outpost, if they set up a solid defense line here, all the land between Border Town and the fortress could be put to good use. Suddenly, the guy in glasses freaks out, pointing out that the stockpile is empty and Border Town was supposed to have their ore ready today. Looks like these visitors are here to collect ore before the demon months hit, offering shelter for the Border Town in return. The ambassador sighs and decides to take the problem to our hero. They ride back on their horses. The guy with purple hair wonders if Border Town found a new trade partner, or already sold their ore to Willowtown or Fallen Dragon Ridge. He's pretty sure it's the fourth prince's doing, who is our hero by the way. The redhead thinks hard, pondering if the prince has already set up deals with towns further down on the Redwater River. If so, they've lost yet another bargaining chip. He worries that if they try the same monopoly play as before, they're not likely to succeed since the fourth prince already has other trade partners to take their ore to sell. Once they get to the castle, they're greeted with this incredible feast. The ambassador, not sure how to handle chopsticks, glances over at our hero and awkwardly tries to eat the same way, struggling to even pick up his food. As his food flies off the chopsticks, the ambassador feels embarrassed, while the prince casually mentions that these sticks are easier and cheaper to make compared to forks, and once he introduces them to his town people, no one will have to worry about getting sick from eating with their bare hands. As the sun starts to dip, casting a golden glow over the castle, the prince is about to enjoy desserts after their impromptu dinner. Finally, the ambassador brings up the reason for their visit, pointing out that they came to collect ore as usual, only to find none at the dockyard this time. That's when our hero drops the bad news. There was a landslide at the North Slope Mountain recently. They've been trying to clear the rubble and resume production this month, but it looks like the mine won't reopen until sometime next year. The ambassador then asks about the production from previous months. Our hero simply shrugs and says it was lower than usual, barely enough to keep everyone fed. He adds that even if they manage to scrape together enough ore, it won't buy more than 2 months' worth of wheat. So, he suggests they totally revamp their deal. The ambassador looks worried and tries to reel our hero back in, apologizing for past screw-ups. He proposes that the 6 noble families of the fortress pool together to lend enough food for 1 month, promising they'll pay it back next year. But our hero isn't having it. He flat out says if they sell the ore to Willowtown, they won't owe anyone a thing. And here's the twist. The Willowtown is offering gold dragon coins in exchange for their ore. Plus, they're ready to trade wheat, cheese, bread, and honey, all at fair prices. Anything you can buy with gold dragons, they're happy to sell. Compared to dealing with Longsong Fortress, this new setup makes way more sense for the border town. Our hero asks the ambassador another question, pointing out if he even has enough influence to make that decision on behalf of the other families willing to lend 1 month's worth of food. Our hero quickly catches on that the ambassador is a member of the honeysuckle family, with this emblem being a dead giveaway. The prince acknowledges that the ambassador might be from one of the 6 families, but questions whether he can really convince Duke Ryan and the others to agree, or if he can guarantee it. Looks like our hero is hitting the nail on the head as the ambassador's face turns sour like a lemon. The scene flashes back to when the ambassador tried to reason with his father, arguing that the new ruler of Border Town, the 4th prince, definitely wouldn't agree to exchange his minerals and gemstones for some food and bread. He suggested buying from them at 30% under the market price, as they could still make substantial profits. But this bald machismo of a father confidently brushed off the concern, saying the sloth-like 4th prince would never handle Border Town's trade affairs. He believed they could continue swindling Border Town's resources for mere bread and shelter. In the present moment, the redhead ambassador, after thinking it through, realizes our hero has a point. He couldn't even convince his own father, but still wants to try his best. So, the redhead takes the plunge and offers to buy the ore and gemstones from Border Town at 30% below market price. The ambassador is confident his offer must be higher than what Willowtown is proposing. He emphasizes that Willowtown is far away, making it difficult to seek shelter during the demon months, which is why Longsong Fortress is the best option for shelter. The ambassador starts to mention the bad roads leading to Willowtown, but stops himself mid-sentence. Curious, our hero urges him to finish his thought. The redhead points out the dangers that could easily spring up along that road. The ambassador realizes he may have inadvertently issued a threat to a prince and starts panicking internally. Our hero just chuckles, dispelling the redhead's confusion, and explains that he never intended to seek refuge in Willowtown in the first place. That bombshell catches the redhead off guard, and he really throws the ambassador for a loop by making it crystal clear he's not going anywhere, not to Longsong Fortress or anywhere else. The prince goes on to explain that Border Town isn't just going to be some outpost anymore. It's going to be a full-fledged part of Grey Castle Kingdom. He's pumped to show off the brand new city walls stretching all the way from the North Slope Mountains to the Redwater River. The redhead's jaw practically hits the floor, and he double-checks with our hero if he heard right. The boy nods firmly, stressing they're putting up this wall right here in Border Town to keep those demons at bay. The redhead's mind flashes back to some fancy banquet where nobles were roasting our prince for starting construction projects just as the demon months were rolling in. Everyone had a good laugh at what they thought was our hero's cluelessness. At first, the redhead figured it was all just rich folks teasing each other for kicks. He never imagined our prince was serious about this whole wall thing. What's really mind-boggling is how our prince, known for chasing pleasure and not much else, is suddenly taking charge of something so massive. The redhead, freaking out a bit, assures our hero that once he's back at the fortress, he'll try to hash things out with the 6 noble families, hoping it'll all swing in our hero's favor.